Hey guys, welcome on back to the Anchorage. And speaking about, man, we've got some nice weather going on outside and very few clouds. So I want to talk about the cloud today. And we're not talking the wispy, water vapors that float in the air, at 1,000 or so feet up or 20,000 feet or really high stuff, or thunderstorm, thunderheads, overcast, things like that. We're going to talk about the cloud, as in, well, let's see, you got Google or Schmoogle, however you want to call it. You've got Apple or applesauce, however you want to call it. You got Microsoft or Microslop, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how you can actually control a little bit in your own home. How would you like to have it in your own home or on your own infrastructure where you control everything? And I mean absolutely everything. Let's talk about that today on Pi Quest. All right, well, welcome on back. And I've had a request, at least I think it was for me. It might have been for Tom on Switch to Linux, but we had someone say, "Hey, make more Pi videos." So I'm gonna be doing that. So there it is. So this is it. So the cloud. We all talk about the cloud when it comes to technology and stuff like that. Keep everything in your life on the cloud. No, that's data consumption by big tech. That is something that I am not overly kosher with. It's my data, therefore I control it. But the problem is that when you upload any information, any data, anything, you're essentially giving carte blanche access and permissions and rights to the folks that you're uploading that information to. At the end of it all, you really are. So can't really call me an advocate for it, but I feel really strongly about it. It's my data, my rules. It doesn't matter what anybody has to say about it. If I'm borrowing someone else's system, it's still my data. I tell them how to handle it. That's not how they operate. It's data collection, it's consumer espionage being done against, essentially, because those folks, they're like, oh, it's protected on our system and stuff like that. Yeah, but if somebody comes along of any particular power, government, they would be basically saying, hey, we want this data. We want this data here, here, and here about this, this, and that. And what do these outfits do? Well, they might be like, well, no, that's not possible, blah, blah, blah. But in the end of it all, they get pushed and they give it up. There's a high possibility and probability that that is actually happening and stuff like that. Could it be also possible that they're taking the data and just immediately just handing it right over? I can't say. It could be, might not be, but the optimist in me, says, well, no, they're not just handing it over right away, anything like that. But but the realist in me is basically saying, hey, if people come asking if anybody of any importance comes along, then we dish it right out, because they take the position of like, well, we're just the middleman. We have nothing to do with it. So here. It just branches out from there. But one of the ways, in order to take yourself out of that equation, is keeping your data in your home or on infrastructure that you control. And I'm taking the approach of, let's say, how you can actually do it in your own home. Namely, a wonderful suite of applications and apps and stuff like that. It happens to be called Nextcloud. upload your photos. You can store your contact information. You can do recipes. You can control your own, household projects, personal projects, and stuff like that. I happen to use this for the channel and for Switch to Linux, for my for things that I do for that channel, which is namely announcements for videos and streams and things of that sort. My own personal kind of stuff regarding my infrastructure here, regarding my systems, for the home, spring cleaning, let's say, things like that. But of course, each of those are on their own separate instances of Nextcloud, and Nextcloud is really good. And the one that I happen to use happens to be from an outfit by the name of Disroot, and I do work for them. I don't work for them. I'm not part of them. But I do some volunteer type stuff for them. Like I'll make videos on when they do updates or upgrades, stuff like that. And I just got into their user testing volunteer work. And Mumpeth had told me, yeah, that maybe takes an hour a month. I'm like, yeah, I can spend that kind of time on it. And believe me, it's very, very skin of the surface, like not even. Because I come from QA, from, big bank, corporate environment. And that is really involved, and it's very extensive, and the paper trail is immense. And, in keeping track of every little step, things like that, of that sort. However, with this route, it's not going to be anything like that. It's just going to be, they're just going to tell me, hey, can you test this? Or your access to it, maybe a couple of line items, something that takes like maybe 5 minutes to do. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Sure. Awesome. So I do that with them. And, and I use their Nextcloud instance that they've got running and stuff like that. And it's fantastic. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was part of a project regarding Nextcloud that used Nextcloud, that takes it from the type of infrastructure that it would ideally be part of, which would be, of course, a household computer or a mini PC or something like that. It can also be put out on, big servers and stuff like that, but, it'll work on a home PC. And but this project took it one step further. What if if there happens to be a build of this suite of software, it's all web-based, that can be operated on one of these guys, little Raspberry Pi. Here's Aurora, the original Aurora. Normally, this is on display back there, right in this spot here. But I brought it up here so I can show it to you in a case. This is the original Aurora that I used for testing a Minecraft home server software using a Raspberry Pi. And I helped the developer out. He's in Denmark. And I have a build on it on the micro SD card right up here. And, I just keep it for prosperity, I guess you could call it. But I keep it back there on display so people can see it. And if they happen to see it and they ask, oh, what's that thing? I can tell them about it. Briefly, of course. But this is just a spare. It's the size of a debit card. This is how it shows up, in a box. But, the box is, enough, large enough to stick this in it, but it's not all that big. This one was a production card, and I used it for a little while, but then I didn't need it because I updated it to another one. Because this one actually has a slight issue with the power port here, the micro USB port. This one's loose, so I had to buy one where it wasn't loose. Yeah, the fix is easy, but I'm lazy when it comes to this stuff. A little bit sometimes. I can do it. I just don't have the motivation to actually go ahead and do it. Just need to reflow the solder joints. That's it. On the PCB circuit board. So I just keep this right here. So, but the project I got involved in was taking Nextcloud, and it was, a special build coded for use on one of these. Yeah, Nextcloud can run on one of these, and that's what I want to do. So I was involved with that, and I actually used it for a while. I was part of the project. I just took care of social media type stuff, posting out on X. Back then it was Twitter. And then I also did out on Mastodon, particularly because they had a Mastodon account. And I did that for a little bit. And then I ended my involvement. I ended using Nextcloud because I determined I really just didn't need it at that time for anything that I needed here. Because my files are on hard drives, a couple up there, a couple down here, below me, and I really didn't need to be doing a whole thing with having it all located on one of these. Now, it would be run on this, but I'd have an extra hard drive connected to it to store all the data, because there is all kinds of data that I've got. However, that need to have it in a Nextcloud environment, it just dwindled down to like nothing. And so I just let it be. And then when Disroot came out with theirs, I went ahead and I did that. And I went to that because what I need isn't overly extensive or intensive or elaborate or anything like that. Just simple stuff, really. So I'll do that on there. However, that leaves me subject to that system's availability, which is up most of the time. But occasionally, when I need to use it, it does happen to be down, whether it be for updates or server maintenance, or there's a fluke in the system, that they just need to flush a cache or just give it a reboot or something like that, but they hadn't done it yet. And me thinking like, well, maybe I can have a backup of sort. And that could be if I was to run my own instance using one of these. Back then, NextcloudPi, which is what it's called, wasn't an official branch of Nextcloud. Apparently, somewhere down the line, it became one. And it's part of the overall Nextcloud umbrella. And it's really good. And we're going to be taking a look at that. What I've got is I have 2 micro SD cards here that I was going to use for testing. So, as I've gone over a number of times before, you've seen them of my, I'm going to call it a cluster of Raspberry Pis. I've got 5 of them up on the shelf there. I've got CoWoS, Aurora, Uppsala, Gefion, and CJ. CJ is my absolute newest one. The Raspberry Pi 5. It's the 8 gigabyte iteration of it. And that was donated to the channel by one of my Linux buds, Mythos, switched to Linux, and for the sake of making videos. And I've done that. But I want to also, kind of circle back around to my previous devices, like this one, for, to take off the shelf and go, hey, this is it, again. Or, hey, this is the first one I ever bought, again. But I wanted to test NextcloudPi again. And if it happens to work out, I'd like to use it as a backup. Should Disroot not be up and running at any particular time. Would it become my production one? That's a very good chance. I mean, it's a good chance it could be. If everything works out, it just might. I don't know. Not right away, that's for sure. But if it does, so be it. You know, that's down the road. So what I did was like, okay, I've got two of them up there, Aurora and Uppsala, that aren't doing anything right now. So I'm like, well, I could use both of those for testing. So what I'm gonna do is like, you know, I was thinking about it and everything, and if I can use NextcloudPi as an ongoing kind of thing, why don't I use Aurora? Aurora was my first one, and it carried over onto one of those, and you know, that name, and I'm like, well, you know, why don't I just stick with that? And you know, I just might. So what I'm doing is I initially there are builds available, predefined builds, pre-written builds, and they're available on the NextcloudPi website, nextcloudpi.com. And I put it on a micro SD. It's right here. Only trouble is, you know, it's only 16 gigs. It's not all that big. So of course, it would be great for, you know, testing to see if it boots and I can get the initial instance set up. That would be great. As far as any production lines level work goes, you know, it's probably not a good idea. But got it just in case. If I can put it into a production level environment. Now, this is the on-brand SD card adapter as a whole. Here's the micro SD that, you know, slides right in, comes right out of that adapter. Boop, right there. It's 64 gigabytes. This can be my production level kind of thing because I really don't need a whole lot of space. Just something where I can throw some channel graphics on, some Switch and Linux stuff on, and it doesn't take up all that much space at all because I've got it on CJ. But at the same time, I would only be using the Nextcloud side of things for my project management. I'm using the Kanban board called Deck. I have it up on my second screen. That's the one on this route. For things such as tracking my steps of making videos, such as this step, which is filming the body. And I've got a little to-do check mark thingy that I can click off or check off when I'm all done. And I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be, you know, taking that 64 gigger, this one. I'm going to stick it into Aurora that's up there. Not this one. This one's not touching electricity ever again. Can't promise that, but, you know, who knows? It's not going to be used in either sense. I've got the current day Aurora up there on the shelf, and I'll take this 64 gigger. It has a build already on it and ready to go. I just have to plug it in there, turn on the power, and see if it boots. And if it does, and I get the initial screen to create my administrator account and to be able to move forward with the, you know, the main install from it, because it's got the installer and everything like that right on there. Then I'll move forward with that and then decide what to do at that point. But that's not going to be in this video. This video is just the introduction. So we're going to be doing that in the next video. And, you know, I'm looking forward to trying it out, getting it done, and taking the next step. So, but, you know, for right now, not so much. So why don't you come back in the future and we will play around with it and see how I can break it. You want to see me break it real good? Because I'm really good at breaking the stuff. It's really easy. So thanks for coming along. We will talk to you later. Thank you very much. And Skál. Talk to you soon.